In this video, we will dispel several myths related to MVP for you not to get lost when creating your pioneer product version. Hi, I'm Anna, and this is Railsware MVP series. In our last videos, we have learned what MVP is and what types of MVP there are in the market. Just a quick reminder what MVP is meant for. Minimum viable product acts as a software validation tool, which attempts to provide an answer to the question, is my idea worth doing? Watch our video explaining what MVP is and what benefits does it bring to product owners by clicking on the card above. Yet some newcomers as well as existing product owners may have the wrong impression of the concept caused by many myths around MVP. Today we will dispel the most common ones. The first one is MVP is equal to lean startup. There is a popular myth that MVP is the heart of the lean startup. This idea is mostly pushed forward by enthusiasts that put technology before everything. But in fact, the keystone of any lean startup is the user validation and development. Most successful products put significant attention on this. Facebook is a good example. At first, the core idea of this startup was to provide college students with a communication tool. The MVP's role was to validate the feasibility of this idea. The rest is the story. MVP is not a lean startup and not even its heart or soul. It's a useful and efficient tool to validate your business idea before hitting development full speed. The next myth is that MVP pulls customers and money in. It's not enough to build a minimum viable product app and mark a checkbox in your startup's to-do list. Of course, if your MVP manages to attract users, it's a small but important win. Nevertheless, you're only at the very beginning. A lot of iterations lie ahead, and your MVP is the best tool to learn and pilot test your ideas. Customers will bring their money only if the product you offer delivers value, and the MVP's role is to make sure this value will be in demand on the market. MVP is a product with one valuable feature. It's much easier to implement the bare-bones version of the product with only one feature. There's even a special type of MVP called one painkiller feature. However, this is not the case for everyone. Let's imagine a regular CRM tool where you have 10 or more valuable features. Try to pick the most fundamental one. It's quite difficult. For that reason, startups aimed at fast functionality for users require much more time and effort to create and deliver the MVP. The next myth is that MVP contains as many features as you can effort. It's understood that an MVP has a limited set of features, which are mostly basic ones. However, the importance of minimum viable product is not to demonstrate the work of the features you have money to build. The focus should be made on the product value validation rather than playing with features. Therefore, the most efficient MVP is oriented on the core business goal for the available budget. Farther on, your product will gradually co-opt the features that bring additional value to customers and drop unviable ones. Watch our video about using value proposition canvas to identify your product value before presenting MVP to the market. If the MVP is not successful, the product is doomed to fail. Nobody wants to believe that his or her idea may fail. However, statistics say that 9 of 10 startups drown. And it takes maximum effort to make it into this 10% of lucky survivors. At this point, a failed MVP is not a metric of a failed product. The lead startup tells us that entrepreneurs can pivot. It means you can always turn off the wrong track and onto a riding one. As for this MVP misconception, it's always difficult to accept that the value you expect from your product just isn't there. However, that reveals the major task of creating a bare-bones product: to find out whether people need this sort of value. If they don't, you can always try to change the focus and opt for another vision of your idea. MVP is a fit for building a small product for cheap. This is the most popular misconception on the web. Indeed, every startup would like to get a combination of speed, low price, and good quality in one go. Unfortunately, good and fast won't be cheap, fast and cheap won't be good, and good and cheap won't be fast. We cannot treat an MVP as a small functional product or even a prototype. With MVP, startup founders get a tool to learn about their target user segment. The emphasis is placed on customer acceptance rather than fast and cheap time to market. The last myth for today is all features in MVP are must-haves. It's always tricky to prioritize functionalities the product has to offer at early stages. In most cases, everything seems to be necessary and must-have. However, if you try to push all the features into the MVP, there is a risk of spending all of your cash in foiling. Make sure to pick the features the MVP must have at most. Railsware applies the Moscow methodology. It allows us to prioritize all our must-haves, should-haves, could-haves, and would or would not-haves. Subscribe to our channel and watch our upcoming video about Moscow prioritization approach. There are plenty of other misconceptions like stuffing an MVP with features is a good approach or that MVPs are good for consumer-oriented products only. These ones usually originate from the people who are not familiar with the lean method. Unfortunately, these illusions lead to dead ends, so don't get lost. Subscribe to Railsware channel and use the best lean approaches to product creation. Start building your business from lean canvas to outline your business model and its core elements before you start. Click the card above to learn how it works. I hope this video helped you to clarify what MVP is and what it is not. However, there are other misconceptions related to MVP. Many people confuse minimum viable product with other terms like proof of concept or prototype or alpha-beta versions of the product. In our next video, we will show you where MVP lies in the whole product creation process and how to differentiate it from other terms typical for the product pipeline. Don't miss it!